Hello, good people. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Make America Think Again with Vaughn. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for being here. Please like, subscribe, and share the channel, please. Share it with folks that you, like-minded folks that you believe um, would benefit from the information that is shared here on this page. So today I want to talk about yet another Jeffrey Epstein survivor. Her name is Juliet Bryant. I just so happened to run across an interview with her, and just some very interesting information that she didn't necessarily fully give out, but she dropped breadcrumbs. Let me put it that way. She dropped some breadcrumbs. So in the interview, she starts out saying that she was, and she is now lives in South Africa, and she was living in South Africa, working. She's 20, I believe, 20 years old, working as a model with Elite Models Studio. We've heard Elite Modeling already. So she was working with them and trying to put herself through college. She was in college and she was studying psychology. So on this one occasion, her friend comes to her and says that I think they were at a bar. They were in a bar, and or no, she said a young lady came up to her and said that do you know who these people are? And she said, lo and behold, sitting in the bar was Epstein, Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, and Chris Tucker. And so this girl said, they're here in town, and maybe, I guess they had an exchange. She told her, she was a model. Maybe she complimented her. I don't know, and on her looks. And then so she said, well, yeah, maybe Epstein can help you with your modeling career. He's connected with Victoria's Secret, a lot of modeling agencies, etc. Now, she was already with a modeling agency, so I don't know how they set this thing up. It could have been something covert behind the scenes, and the modeling agency that she was already with was trying to set her up. But this is how she said it went down. So she said she goes up to the table, they stood up, they shook her hand, etc. And then she said she didn't stay at the table necessarily. She was invited back, or invited to meet with them the next day and to bring her her headshots and her book in, and models know what I'm talking about, a book of all your different looks, your lookbook, to bring it to a hotel and meet with them the next day. She said she did that, showed up the next day, and they asked her, actually, before they went to the hotel, she said they asked her if she wanted to come to, Clinton was speaking, and did she want to come along? And she was like, sure. So she went to some college, and she kept saying it was, I guess, one of the poorer colleges is how she was putting it. I kind of, was thinking that maybe she's talking about a community college or a junior college versus a college, big college or university. Maybe that's what she was trying to convey. But so anyway, she said she was surprised that he was speaking at this location. She thought it was kind of odd for him to be a former president speaking at this location, but she went. And she said she was sitting behind Kevin Spacey, and she's like, he was just filming like everyone in the room. And she said she just thought the whole thing was odd, because she was like, why is he getting so much of footage of the students that are in the room? And why are we even here at this kind of, smaller college, I'm gonna put it that way, when this is a former president? Like, she was like, she didn't understand any of it. But after that happened, they go back to the hotel. She said she goes to her car on her own to get her things to take up to the room. So she has her book so they can look at some of her pictures. Okay. So she said, here's where it gets kind of strange. She said, while she's there talking to whomever the young lady is, and I believe it's one of the people that has already been named, which is why I'm like, how is it that these people haven't been subpoenaed? Because I consistently hear their names. I want to say it's the Kelly person. Hold on, I'm gonna find the name real quick because I have a list of these names. The assistants, the pri- the private chef, the pilot. There are all these people that were constantly and consistently involved, and there's no way that they didn't know what was going on. And even in Virginia Giuffre's book, she talks about how sometimes these assistants would join in on these in these sexual encounters that they she was forced to engage in. Okay, that's another list. Where is the list of? Okay, so she also mentions um, Juliet Bryant. She also mentions that she was taken to the Frederick Facah, Fekkai. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Facah, this hairdresser that was big time in New York. They dyed her hair blonde and they bleached her teeth. Apparently, turned her teeth white, is what she said. So there are these usual suspects, and with each one of these women, there are these constant repeat offenders who were involved. Um, oh, I can't find the assistants' names right now. I don't know why I have so many notes. So many notes. Yeah, I can't find it right now. But anywho, so she goes to the, I guess she said the table or desk where this girl was sitting, gives her the information. She said while she was there and engaging in a conversation with the girl, Clinton comes out of a bedroom. It's a suite, and he comes out of a bedroom that I believe she said Epstein had just gone into. So she was like, "Are they sharing a room?" She remembered asking herself that. But anywho, so she goes in to this to another space, and she's talking to Epstein, and then Epstein is like, "Yeah, I believe I can help you with your modeling career. I can help get you into Victoria's Secret." But yeah, we need to get you to New York, etc. And basically he was like, yeah, now, like, we leave tomorrow and you can come back with us and go to New York. If you want this modeling career, you want this thing to happen, you need to be in New York. So she goes home, she packs her bags, and she's going to New York. And she said she gets on the plane the next day, boards the private jet with Epstein sitting there. And she said Epstein signaled to her to sit like right next to him, patted like the cushion on the chair. She sat down and she said as soon as they got in the air, he immediately started molesting her on the plane. So some of the other things that she said, well, so she gets to New York. She said she gets to New York, she's just like traumatized and thrown out, like, what the hell just happened? Because she legit believed that these people wanted to help her. Um, and so they take her, they drop her off at this, he had this other apartment building, or this building where he had condos, which is also where I believe his brother Mark was living at the time as well. But yeah, so they had this model apartment he owned, and some of his staff, some of the younger girls, the assistants, lived in this building as well. So they dropped her off there, and she said, she was just like, what the hell is happening? And then I believe she said they stayed in New York for like 4 or 5 days, and then flew her to Palm Beach. And so during that 4 or 5 days, he was sexually assaulting her in New York, and then they flew her to Palm Beach. She said that she had been to his New York home. She had been to the Palm Beach home. She had been to the island, And she also talks about going to the New Mexico ranch. So from New York to Palm Beach, and then I believe she said while she was in New York, that's when they did the dyeing of the hair blonde, the bleaching of the teeth. Goes to the Palm Beach home, and then they fly her back to South Africa. And she said, while she was in Palm Beach, Epstein calls her into his office and tells her that he's part of the CIA. He has all of her family's names, and that there was one girl who had previously tried to accuse him of rape, and he somehow sent her to prison, basically telling her, I'm connected to everybody. I can make you or your family disappear or hurt or be uncomfortable, etc. So he tells her all this while they're in Palm Beach, and then flies her back to South Africa. And she says, people have asked her, like, why did you go back? Why didn't this was your opportunity to get away? And she said she was in such fear for her life and her family that she went back when they contacted her to go back. And I believe the next time they contacted her to come back, she flew to the island. She flew to the island. So she doesn't talk much about what transpired on the island in this interview. She does talk about what happened at the New Mexico ranch, though, which this is the first time that I've heard any of the survivors talk about this. So she said that she woke up in New Mexico. She woke up to, and also she said they never told them when they were leaving, when they were, or where they were going. They would literally just come to them and say, hey, pack a small bag. We're going to go here and we're leaving right now. And she said, so that was, intentional. So they wouldn't be able to leak information to people as to where they were going, or, they wouldn't have time to plan to not go on that trip. So she said that's how it worked out all the time, to where they would just, come in, announce it, and we're leaving in a couple of hours. So whatever you have packed, that's what you bring in. If you don't have it packed, you don't have it. So she said, while they were in New Mexico, though, she woke up in a lab with 5 people in hazmat suits and 1 female doctor working on her. And she said she doesn't know to this day what they did to her, but she said that she knows something was done, because since then, like, she hasn't been right, is basically what she was saying. She said that she's self-harmed her own self in the past. And she said that was nothing compared to how she felt and who she was after this New Mexico trip. But she said she doesn't know what exactly they did. She does not. She was knocked out. She doesn't know. She also said that, if people really knew the depth and the truth about this whole Jeffrey Epstein business and ring, she said it would break people's brains, is what she said. That's a direct quote. The whole truth would break people's brains. She said it's not just sex trafficking. She said even though that's a billion-dollar business, it's not just that. She said that these people have different branches that they work in. She said she mentioned babies, organs, and drugs. She's like, babies, organs, harvesting, and drugs is a lot of money, people. A lot of money, aside from the sex trafficking and the child trafficking that was happening. She said that she said that Epstein was not the boss. She did not believe that Epstein was the boss. She said he wasn't intelligent enough. She said actually Ghislaine Maxwell was more intelligent, more put together, more connected, more professional than Epstein was. She said, so out of the two, on the business side of it, she believes it was more Ghislaine Maxwell that was running that. What else did she say? Oh, she talked about the fact, she's like, because the interviewer asked her, do you believe that this person who didn't even have a college degree has outsmarted all these other men and coerced them into this business and, given them money, into giving him money, etc.? And she said, no. She said, I don't. She said, there's probably some blackmailing involved. She said, what she suspects is he was at this Dalton school, and she said, why was he given that job? How do you go from taxi cab driver to teacher without a degree? And then she said, and then she said, I'm quite sure there were some victims, some of the students, because Dalton is a private all-girls school, if you didn't know that, in New York. A very well-to-do private all-girls school. She said, so where are those survivors? She said, because I know there has to be some. And she said, on top of that, how does he go from being the cab driver to the teacher? There has to be people in place that's putting him in these positions, is basically what she was alluding to. And she said, I think that one of the wealthy kids got in some sort of trouble and he blackmailed the parent, and voila, that's how he got this stock market job. That's how he got entangled with all these folks. What else did she say that I found very, very interesting? She also said, look into the money, follow the money, basically. She said there was $1 billion, $1 billion connected to just JP Morgan Chase alone and Jeffrey Epstein. She said, follow the money and follow the connections of the money. But she said she doesn't believe that he was the boss. He was not at the top. And she said they all have their own branches. That was another key thing that I took from the information. And remember how I told you, I said, look at these similarities between Epstein and Diddy. But they were doing their separate operations, but they have these similarities in how they operated. The cash, always having the cash on them, the ways that they like to be pleasured, the whole baby oil situation, the traveling across lines. There's so many overlaps between Diddy's operation and Epstein's operation. And maybe I just connected something. Maybe this is why the state of New York backed off of, or Diddy didn't really get charged for the RICO, because they would have to open up all of this shit that she's talking about with the babies and organ harvesting and the child trafficking. And then you got Sasha over here talking about child snuff films. I mean, my God. So Juliet Bryant is her name. You can find this interview on YouTube. Chris Hansen did this interview, so you can watch it for yourself. But yeah, and also let me say this. Another dot I'm connecting is the more these survivors and the more information leaks out, and now you've got Sasha Riley, a potential male survivor, and all the stuff that he's talking about, of all the unaliving of the children, and these films that were sold, and these films that were passed around on military bases, U.S. military bases, with children, child porn, and snuff films. And like Juliet said, the whole truth might break our brains, y'all. It might break our brains. It might be like everything we heard and we thought was rumor or conspiracy. All this shit has been true all this time. All the eyes wide shut of it might have been true all this freaking time. So don't stop talking about it. Don't stop pushing it, because all this could be connected to all this shit that we're seeing of them attacking Venezuela, going after Greenland, going after Minnesota, declaring war on Minnesota, eh, all of it, all of it, all that can be the distraction from all of this, is what I'm trying to say. And this right here is one huge tangled web that's like mind blowing, mind blowing. I'll talk to you all soon.